you see back there?
There was a lady.
What'd she look like?
She was dead.
Stay out of the cornfield.
Upgrade your source for breaking news with our newest network, ESPN News HD. With an enhanced bottom line and new HD sideline exclusive to ESPN News HD. Now the breaking news from the world of sports continues. The way you watch has changed. ESPN News HD.
ESPN News and ESPN News HD. Stay current.
Add HD Basic to Blue Ridge Digital Cable to get ESPN News HD. Call 800-CABLE-77 to order.
You're watching Emmy Award-winning Blue Ridge Communications TV 13.
Welcome to Memorial Hall in Jim Thorpe. This is the Carbon County Commissioners and Sheriffs Debate 2011. I'm Kim Bell, General Manager of Blue Ridge Communications TV 13, and we're happy to be partnering tonight with the Lehighton 912 Project to bring you this debate. We will begin by introducing our panel of reporters who will be asking questions to the candidates. Emily Voles. She is a reporter and a news anchor for Blue Ridge Communications TV 13. She covers breaking news, community events, and local politics in Carbon County for the News 13 Valley and Night Reports. Emily moved to Carbon County just last year after earning her BA in Journalism and American Studies from the University of Connecticut. Ron Gower. Ron has over 40 years of newspaper experience, most of it at the Times News, where he is a reporter and photographer. He has worked for the Morning Call as a stringer for many years, also the United Press International. His bylines have appeared in the New York Times, former Philadelphia Bulletin, Woman's World Magazine, and the U.S. Journal of Commerce. He's been covering Carbon County elections for over 30 years. Ron resides in Summit Hill with his wife, Lauren, and he's a lifelong resident of Carbon County. And our third panelist is Carrie Dowd. Carrie began her radio broadcasting career in 1998 as a news talk producer for WJR in Detroit, Michigan. She soon accepted a job as news director for 101.9 WMOM radio in Ludington, Michigan. In 2001, she moved to New York to work as a production assistant for 1010 Winds Radio. She took a break from radio broadcasting and expanded into local TV news. In 2008, she got back into radio as the host of a local talk show in Schuylkill County. Today, Carrie is the host of Afternoon Drive on Magic 105.5 WMGH and the host of Saturday Edition on AM 1410 WLSH. She lives in Tamaka with her husband and 2 boys. Thank you, panelists, for being here this evening. And I want to thank our audience for being here at Memorial Hall. We are accepting questions from audience members for our candidates for both sheriff and commissioners. We're going to start tonight with our 2 candidates for Carbon County Sheriff. Now, tonight's event is a debate, and I'm going to explain quickly how things will go. Each candidate has an opportunity to introduce himself to our audience here in the building and also at home. Then our panelists will ask a series of questions to the candidates. They will have 90 seconds to respond, and their opposing candidate will have 30 seconds. So let's start by introducing our candidates. We'll start with Dwight Notstein. Dwight is the Democratic candidate for Carbon County Sheriff. He is seeking re-election for his 5th term. Dwight Notestein has been sheriff in Carbon County for over 15 years. Prior to being elected sheriff, he was deputy sheriff for 9 years. Dwight Notestein served in the Navy. He has been a volunteer for the Lehighton Fire Department for 33 years. He is also an Eagle Scout and has worked with scouting for over 50 years. He currently lives in Lehighton with his wife, Orpha, and they have 2 sons. Thank you, Dwight, for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Our next candidate is Stephen Armbruster. Stephen is the Republican candidate for Carbon County Sheriff. He is a 20-year veteran and police corporal employed by the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education. He has held positions as Lehigh County Deputy, Sheriff, Military Police Officer Investigator, and also as a patrolman for Emmaus Borough. In October 2009, Stephen Armbruster received national recognition from Oath Keepers and was named Police Officer of the Year. Armbruster identifies himself as a freedom activist who is campaigning as a constitutional sheriff, promising to protect the citizens of Carbon County from the gradual encroachment of excessive governmental power. He currently lives in Towamensing Township with his wife Tara and their 3 children. Mr. Armbruster, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to start with Dwight Notestein. You may address everyone.
My name is Dwight Notestein. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and viewers at home. First, I want to thank the 912 for the opportunity to speak this evening. Most importantly, I would like to thank the people of Carbon County for allowing me to serve them for the last 15 years. I understand the frustration you have and the discontent you have in Washington and Harrisburg. I am happy to say that the local officials in Carbon County work hard to work together to help the people of Carbon County. It is hard to put words down on paper to tell you in just 2 minutes of just how much we work together. As a young man, I was taught that community service was very important. I began with Boy Scouts and became an Eagle Scout and then a leader. My son has taken over that troop now and is teaching merit badges to young boys to shape them and keep them safe. I proudly served the United States Navy and got a letter of commendation during the Vietnam era. Although my distinguished honor of a fireman has been 33 years, and I started as a fireman and climbed all the way to the rank of assistant chief, and also received a letter of commendation. I am the only candidate to actually have sheriff's experience. Before elected as sheriff, I was a deputy sheriff under Pete Horowchek, who is in our audience tonight, who has taught me all about becoming a good sheriff. And a deputy sheriff for 3 years, I have worked with other groups and helped them in the legislation branch. I served 3 years at the Carbon County Prison. I have many changes and regulations that I have done in our office to improve that office and make things better for all. I also served as chairman of that Carbon County Prison. I am happy to say my experience provides the unmatched knowledge regarding license to sell firearms, license to purchase firearms, investigation, precious metals, and just to name a few. We could go on and on all day long as to what all my officers are capable of doing. We are cross-trained and do a very good job. As your sheriff, I would not be surprised to see at the courthouse at least 1 hour before starting time each day. I'm dedicated to all the people of Carbon County. I work endlessly. I could also be found there on weekends and nights in order to help the people and keep the security as tight as possible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Armbruster.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank the 912 Project and also the people of Carbon County. Firstly, I'd like to point out that my opponent has made a false statement. He is not the only candidate here with experience as a deputy sheriff. I have worked as a sworn deputy sheriff in Lehigh County in the past. I'm running for the position of county sheriff on the prospect that I'm offering better ideas and that my ideas offer solutions to fix our current problems. I intend to adopt, grow, and change the Sheriff's Department to meet the changing needs of our county citizens. As I have gone door to door, the number one problem as identified by the people was that they perceive their county government to be corrupt and run by a social network who they refer to as the good old boys. One of the concerns brought forth was when the citizens of Carbon County attempt to obtain county services, their attempts are often opposed to and confronted by these good old boys whose personal interests and priorities are simply to keep one another in office and not to secure the rights of the citizens. It's gotten so bad that our current sheriff has refused to acknowledge his personal legal responsibility to protect county citizens from illegal mortgage foreclosure. In fact, participating in social contracting simply to secure public office is both immoral and treasonous. If I'm elected, I will separate the good old boys and hold them accountable to their oaths of office. I refuse to participate in social contracting. I have been a state commissioned police officer for approximately 20 years. I've also been a Lehigh County deputy sheriff and police officer in Emmaus Borough. I am endorsed by the Carbon County GOP and also the Pennsylvania State Constitution Party. If I am elected, I will institute programs designed to protect women from violent attackers, as well as a community outreach program designed to protect the civil rights of all of Carbon County citizens. Under my watch, everyone will be able to pick up the phone and call the sheriff's office when their civil rights are unlawfully threatened. My campaign represents the new way that we will do things in Carbon County. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Armbruster. We will begin with Emily Voles, and the first question will be for Sheriff Notstein.
Sheriff Notstein, is this on? Okay. Sheriff Notstein, drugs are one of the most serious problems facing Carbon County right now. Do you have any new ideas for fighting this problem in our county?
Well, my officers do DARE. I am also a DARE officer who goes out to all the schools and speak to the children, to educate people. We have different programs for senior citizens as well. My door is always open to the public to ask for those kind of programs, and my officers do it on a regular basis. We now have picked up St. Peter and Paul this year because Lehighton can no longer do it.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Armbruster, you can respond.
Okay, I've been a police officer for the past 20 years in a college town. I know all about drugs and illegal drugs. I know their effects on people, and I've thought about this very extensively. What my plans are when I'm elected sheriff in Carbon County is I will, through my community outreach program, create a panel which will include local clergy, educators, people who are recovering from drug abuse, and also people that work in the industry of helping people through their addiction problems.
Okay,
and I will
thank
find
you.
out.
Okay. Our next question will be for Mr. Armbruster, and it's Ron Gower asking the question.
Of course, we heard your opening statements, but how do you feel you most disagree with your opponent?
I most disagree with my opponent in that I see the sheriff as having to separate himself, and the sheriff has to walk alone. He cannot be part of the system of county government, and I feel my opponent's gotten far too close where he's jeopardized, in my opinion, he's jeopardized his integrity. In fact, he is the defendant in a civil rights lawsuit where he's being sued for sexually and racially harassing one of his female deputies. And I feel that for these people who are in the county government that are seen as his friends, I think it's a conflict of interest for him to perform his duties and protect the rights of the citizens and his employees. And if I was elected, I would separate myself from that system.
Okay. And Mr. Notstein, you have a rebuttal?
Yes, I do. If Mr. Armbruster would know anything about that case, he would know that there has been a gag order that any of us are not supposed to speak about it. However, you will find that that lawsuit is always filed in the court system where the sheriff has to defend himself against such litigations. He claims that he should be in the sheriff's office for 8 months is all he served. He was never certified as a deputy sheriff and never went to school. So he should know the law, and that I can't even speak about that because it's an open case.
Okay, thank you. Our next question will again be for Mr. Armbruster, and Carrie Dowd will ask.
If elected, you stated that you would institute a volunteer sheriff's brigade program. Are you encouraging citizens of this county to take justice into their own hands? Please explain this.
No, what the Sheriff Brigade program is going to be, it's simply going to be a community outreach program. It's going to be much like a crime prevention program, but the purpose is going to be to advocate for and protect county citizens when their civil rights are unlawfully threatened. In effect, it's going to be a bunch of, so to say, Aaron Brockowiches who are going to work with people as they go through different situations where they have no one else to turn to. We're going to make sure that they know where to go and that they have an advocate who's going to stick up for them when their rights are threatened.
Okay. Mr. Notstein?
Okay, there's rules and regulations to keep a posse from being formed like that. If you want to be technical, there's many of cities who have crime watches which tried to do the same thing. Our department, along with Lehighton Police Department and other departments, have met with citizens to try to get groups together, but it's very hard for them to come together and work as a group to do so. Many of people are afraid to turn in crime. So with that, we have tried that in the future and in the past and have gotten nowhere with it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read a question now from a member of the audience. We're going to start with Mr. Notstein. There's a lot of questions here. Okay, Sheriff Notstein, what does your oath of office say? Have you fulfilled it? And if so, can you provide an example?
I have taken many oaths of office. I have taken it with the Sheriff's Department, and my oath as a sheriff is to follow the laws, rules, and regulations as handed down to me by the judge. I am not the person that takes control. I am the long arm of the law who follows the judge's decisions and what he decides. I am restricted by my commissioners. I am restricted by the district attorneys, and my office goes out of their way to try to work and keep that full oath all the time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Armbruster?
Well, I have a completely different opinion than him. Actually, what he said was an oxymoron. He can't keep his oath, okay, while saying that he has to just simply follow and do what he's told. He has an individual, and I have an individual responsibility to only follow lawful orders. I must follow all lawful orders and disobey all unlawful orders. And that is part of the structural constitutional safeguards instituted by our founding fathers. So if I was, I'm not going to go and beg people to respect the civil rights of the county citizens. If I'm told to violate them, I will say, no, I'm not going to violate them. And simply, he is stating that he will because he thinks he has to. And that's false. That's wrong.
Okay, thank you. Our next audience question will be for Mr. Armbruster. If you were involved in serving a protection from abuse order on a spouse, would you do so if the person could prove he was an illegal alien?
I'm not sure I even understand the question. If I had to serve a PFA order on somebody, the PFA order would be served, period. I don't see how the person's status as a citizen has anything to do with it. We would serve the PFA, very certainly.
Okay. Sheriff Notstein?
we would definitely serve that PFA. Unfortunately, that person would also be arrested because he is not a citizen of the United States, and therefore he would be turned over to ICE.
Thank you. We're going to go back to our panel of reporters for our next round of questions for the candidates. And this time we're going to start with Ron Gower. And Ron Gower, your question would be for Sheriff Notstein.
Do you foresee the budget of the Office of Sheriff increasing, decreasing, or staying the same?
With the tight budget the way it is and the economy, we're going to have to tighten our belts. We know that. The commissioners are working hard to keep the taxes down for the people of Carbon County. We are all working together as a team, and part of that team is to try to cut the budget back so that we can work together and make sure that the people are protected and still do as little as we can with what we got. But we're going to do our job with little or less than what we got before.
Mr. Armbruster?
I understand that the county services are being scaled back, and my community outreach is specifically designed to help people through some of their issues at no cost to the county taxpayers, where we're going to compensate for the loss of a lot of these services by helping them work with the citizens to solve their problems. And we're not just going to be enforcers. We're going to make sure that we protect their rights and advocate for them, and that is part of our county service as well.
Okay, thank you. Our next question will come from Carrie Dowd, and it is for Mr. Armbruster.
How would you ensure courthouse security if elected, and how would you fund that?
Well, courthouse security, I would definitely keep public employees in those positions. County employees would be responsible for the courthouse security. And as far as funding it, obviously it's going to have to be paid for by the county. So I would look for funding through the county to fund those positions. But I think it's very important that we keep those positions to be sworn deputies, or at least public employees, because I think that they serve the people of Carbon County better. And I think that we actually would be providing them with a better opportunity, such as college students that could come into these positions part-time, work for a year or two, and get some experience and offer a very important public service to the county. And that's how I'd use that position.
Okay. Sheriff Notstein?
Our record speaks for itself. We had no issues in the courthouse for many and many of years. My security people were on the ball at all times. That's what they're trained for. That's what they're there for. We have a great crew at this moment. All the deputies are trained. We train constantly. We keep up on all the latest technology and what we can do to stop that kind of progress for the court system. Our job is security. That's the first thing of a courthouse, is security, whether we're protecting the judge or the people who come into it, as well as the prisoners.
Okay, thank you. Our next question will be for Sheriff Notstein from Emily Voles.
With more and more kids going online, do you have any plans to protect these children from online predators?
Through education, we have tried many of things to educate the public. It is more the parents who have to take responsibility for what their children are doing online. More education is needed all the time. The educational part is what's going to make us safe. We're hoping that legislation will be passed to stop some of that information getting online to begin with, and that will solve all the problems, but it's going to be very difficult to do so. There are state organizations that monitor those internet situations all the time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Armbruster?
Well, I don't agree with my opponent that it's simply the job of parents or people to pass additional legislation to protect children from online predators. And in fact, I have plans through my community outreach program where we will institute programs on protecting children in the health and safety of county citizens. And we will bring in educators and different speakers, and they will offer programs to the county citizens at no charge, specifically to protect them and educate them on how to protect themselves from online predators.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go back to some audience questions again. I've gotten some interesting questions, so we're going to do a couple of those. We're going to start this time with Mr. Armbruster. What is your position on concealed weapons permits and weapon ownership requirements?
Well, my position is that, the Sheriff's Department issues concealed weapons permits, and we will certainly issue them. We will go through all the necessary processes to make sure we're doing that legally. I won't ask for this to be. I will take a reference from people outside of the county, because our current sheriff only is accepting references from people inside of the county when they apply for a concealed weapons permit. But the problem with that is, say there's a single mom from Northampton County that moves here, and say she has a PFA filed against somebody, and she's a victim of domestic violence, and she needs a weapon to protect herself. Under his plan, she would be unarmed and unable to defend herself. So as far as who owns weapons, I think that anybody that I think as part of a civic duty, we should all probably own a weapon, and anyone who is lawfully allowed to own one should own one.
Thank you. Sheriff Notstein?
By law, you must be a county resident in order to get a gun permit. If you're from Northampton, you must get a gun permit in Northampton. It is good throughout the state of Pennsylvania. It is issued by PICS, Pennsylvania Instant Criminal System, who does a background check. And the Sheriff's Department does not turn anybody down for a gun permit unless they have a mental or a criminal arrest that allows up to 1 year in imprisonment. Other than that, we issue them to anybody who wants those kind of protection.
Thank you. Our next question is for Sheriff Notstein. Do you consider yourself a politician or a statesman, and why?
I don't consider any of those. I kind of think I'm more of oriented civil servant to the people. I've done it for Boy Scouts. I've done it for firemen. I've done it for the sheriff's office. I do not like the political end. My yearbook simply says I do not like loudmouth politicians, and I don't like to be called a politician. I work for the people, by the people, for the people.
Thank you. Mr. Armbruster?
Okay, in response really fast to his last question, if a person is a resident of Carbon County and they just moved here, okay, I would give them a concealed weapons permit without requiring them to have a reference from Carbon County. That's what I would do different from him. He didn't understand the question. I see myself as somebody, as more of as just a regular citizen or more of a statesman, and my job is not to be a politician. I am somebody that does community service, but my job is to protect the rights of the citizens. That's the number one reason why you elect a sheriff, to protect their civil rights. And that is what I'm going there to the Sheriff's Department to do, not to simply just do what I'm told. There's a very big difference.
Thank you. As part of this evening's debate, we are allowing the candidates to each ask their own question to their opponent. So we're going to start with Sheriff Notstein.
Mr. Armbruster, what do you exactly call an illegal sheriff's sale?
What would I call an illegal sheriff's sale? Well, here's the thing. I might not have the textbook answer to the definition of what is an illegal sheriff's sale, but when I'm elected, I will certainly find out all the definition of an illegal sheriff's sale. I will work with my community members, and I will I will make sure that they understand what is legal and what's not, and what is not legal, and I will seek their support in making sure that we do not perform illegal sheriff sales. He said he would participate in illegal foreclosure if he was told to do so, and I imagine that he would also participate in an illegal sheriff sale where I simply would not. I will do what's right.
Okay, thank you. Sheriff Notstein, you can rebut.
That isn't an illegal sheriff sale if you follow proper procedure by the rules and regulations of Pennsylvania and federal government, who sets guidelines for those sales. It is up to them to do so. There are many programs out to help people who are in mortgage foreclosure that we can point them to and try to help them. But technically, it's the person's responsibility. You signed a contract, you're responsible to pay the bank. I shouldn't be, or any other citizen should be responsible to pay somebody else's mortgage.
Thank you. Mr. Armbruster, your question?
Okay, exactly. I would follow the rules, and if I was told to break them, I wouldn't do it. My question for Mr. Notstein is, as I've gone door to door, I have asked the citizens what was their number one complaint regarding the operation of their county government as run by their elected officials. The overwhelming response that I got back was that they perceive their county government to be run by a collection of individuals who commonly engage in a method of social contracting, whereas they do favors for one another simply to keep one another in political office. The citizens express severe difficulty in obtaining the county governmental services that they as taxpayers have paid for, because the apparent personal needs of these public servants were persistently and unlawfully trumping their very own rights. The sheriff is very different from other elected public servants because he is a law enforcement official whom at all times must display integrity that is beyond reproach. Mr. Notstein, what method have you incorporated into the function of your office to ensure that you do not come under the unethical influence of the county good old boy network? Thank you.
As sheriff of Carbon County, I told you I serve the people of Carbon County. We work as a team in the courthouse to work together to try to resolve everything. There is no good old boys, and I resent that and tell you that we work together, Democrats and Republicans.
The people themselves have identified it, sir. They've identified it.
Okay. That is all the time that we have for our questions. I'm going to give you each 30 seconds for a closing comment. Mr. Armbruster, you may go first.
Okay. Let's see. All right, thank you very much. Please see my website at Armbruster for Sheriff for more details on my platform and to follow my campaign. During the Civil War, a group of soldiers has gone into battle. In those days, the troops followed the standard or the battle flag, and the person who carried the standard directed the troops. One day, during intense fighting, the soldiers carrying the flag got very far out in front of the other troops, and the troops that had been following them became pinned down under heavy enemy fire, and they started yelling for the standard to be brought back to the men. Under my watch, I will bring the men up to the standard.
Thank you. And Sheriff Notstein.
In closing, I just want to thank the people for coming out and supporting me in the past and in the future. We can work together to make this a better Carbon County if we work together, no matter what party you are. This is about the people of Carbon County. We need to work together to make us stronger. We have a good county here. When you look around to all the other counties, there's a lot of problems. Carbon County can be proud, and I want to thank you for coming out tonight and taking part in this debate.
Thank you. And I would like to thank Dwight Notstein and Stephen Armbruster, our two candidates for Carbon County Sheriff. We're going to take a quick break. When we come right back, your candidates for Carbon County Commissioner. Stay with us.
Don't want to miss the latest at the 9th Annual TechNet Fundraiser benefiting local fire companies and the Blue Ridge chapter of Dream Come True, Saturday, November 12th at Penn's Peak. There will be live music from Big Things, and you will laugh all night to the comedy of Mike Gaffney of the Chocolate Comedy Tour. Tickets are $20 per person, and there are only 100 available at any TechNet location. It's the 9th annual TechNet fundraiser for local fire companies and the Blue Ridge chapter of Dream Come True. Saturday, November 12th, 5 p.m. at Penn's Peak.
When every moment matters and a hand reaches out. When someone gives blood and a life is saved. That moment when heartbreak turns to hope. You're there through the American Red Cross. Every day, the Red Cross responds to nearly 200 neighborhood emergencies. And your support makes it possible. Use this moment to join us today. Visit redcross.org.
Hi, my name is Jim Tack, and we lost our son Bo to suicide in July of 2007. Today, so many suicides happen every day. Most recent statistics indicate that we are losing 100 young people a week to this silent epidemic. The Bo Tack Under the Helmet and Hat Foundation is here to help you. Please visit our website for more information.
Hi, I'm Sarah Evans. Every day, the American Red Cross responds to nearly 200 neighborhood emergencies. When you provide a hot meal to a disaster victim or give blood to someone you will never meet, train in first aid, or help a member of our military, you join the American Red Cross. Your support makes a life-saving difference, so join us today. Call 1-800-RED-CROSS or visit redcross.org.
I am an engineer, web designer, a systems analyst, a network security specialist.
I am technical support,
a PC technician,
customer service.
We are working together
to bring you better, faster,
and more reliable data connections. Engineering the next generation of smart technology.
In your community.
We're connecting homes, businesses, and beyond.
We are
Penteledata.
My husband and I are very happy with Blue Ridge. We have no intentions of changing.
I hear about what's happening in my own backyard.
From sports to cooking to the regular channels.
I watch PCN, I watch the Health Watch, I watch the local news, whether it be morning or evening.
We're a local company and we like to deal with local people.
When you got the best, you don't worry about the rest.
I love my Blue Ridge.
I'm sticking with my Blue Ridge because of the local sports. I'm sticking with Blue Ridge.
We're sticking with Blue Ridge.
Watch your favorite HGTV shows whenever you want, on demand.
Ocean, beach, and under my price range.
I love this room.
Inspiration is everywhere in Miami.
Now it's time to buy a house.
Oh, wow.
You cannot get more Caribbean than this.
I like it. It's fantastic.
It's all on demand and on HGTV.
Available on Blue Ridge Digital Cable Channel 1 under Free on Demand.
Uncut.
Told you I didn't want to fight.
Unbelievable.
This is the only deal.
Universal HD.
Bring it. I'll bring it.
Unforgettable films.
The name's Bond.
In full HD. The Universal HD Uncut Sunday Night Movie. Sundays at 7 on Universal HD.
Universal HD is available on Blue Ridge Digital Cable with HD Plus. Call today to order.
Welcome back to Memorial Hall in Jim Thorpe, everyone. If you are just tuning in, you're tuning in to the Carbon County Sheriff's Commissioners Debate 2011. We've spent the last half hour hearing from our two candidates for Carbon County Sheriff, and now we're going to turn things over to the candidates vying to be the next Carbon County Commissioners. Again, we have our panel of 3 reporters with us this evening. We have Emily Voles from Blue Ridge TV 13, we have Ron Gower from the Times News, and we have Carrie Dowd from WLSH WMGH. We're going to start by allowing the candidates the opportunity to introduce themselves to our audience, both here at Memorial Hall and also at home. I'll begin by reading a brief bio on each of our candidates. We'll start with William O'Gorick. William O'Gorick is completing his 8th year as a member of the Board of Commissioners and has served as its chairman since taking oath in 2004. He has a varied career in the political arena, having previously served as the county prothonotary for 10 years, and prior to that as the mayor of Summit Hill for 10 years. He has been a member of the Times News editorial department for the past 38 years. He's on the board of directors of the Carbon Schuylkill Industrial Development Corporation and the Our Lady of the Valley Home and School Association, and formerly served on the Carbon County Environmental Education Center Advisory Board. He's also the treasurer of the BOTAC Foundation, supporting children with psychological disorders. He and his wife, Siobhan, reside in Summit Hill. Our next candidate is Charles Getz. Charles Getz is completing his 16th year as a member of the Board of Commissioners, during which time he served as chairman from 1996 to 99 and vice chairman 2004 to present. His government experience includes not only a decade and a half of service to county government, but 18 years of experience as a Kidder Township supervisor. He's the owner of Getz Transportation in Albrightsville and serves on the board of directors of the Jim Thorpe National Bank. Commissioner Getz served for 4 years as co-manager of Carbon County Special Olympics. He is a charter member of the Albrightsville Volunteer Fire Company. He and his wife, Carol, reside in Albrightsville. Next is Wayne Notstein. Wayne is in his 12th year as a county commissioner. Wayne Notstein is a 1967 graduate of Lehighton Area High School and a 1981 graduate of Northampton Area Community College with an associate's degree in applied science. He was previously employed by BOC Industrial Gases in Bethlehem for 23 years and was a shop steward for Teamsters Union 773 before the plant closed in 1996. An active member of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, he has been a member of the County Governance Committee since 2001 and is now a member of the Veterans Affairs Task Force. Mr. Notstein was appointed by Governor Ed Rendell to serve as one of 2 county commissioners to the state E911 Emergency Services Advisory Committee. A Vietnam-era veteran of the United States Air Force, Mr. Notstein is also an active volunteer firefighter with the Lehighton Fire Department for over 38 years. He and his wife, Donna, live in Lehighton. Tom J. Gerhard. Mr. Gerhard is a resident of Packer Township who will seek his first term to the office of Carbon County Commissioner on the Republican ticket. Born and raised in Packer Township, Weatherly, Gerhard is the son of Tom C., who served for 12 years as Carbon County Commissioner before retiring in 2003, and Elizabeth Kovalak Gerhard. He is a graduate of Weatherly Area High School in 1974. Gerhard was a self-employed roofing contractor for Tom Gerhard & Sons Roofing for 32 years, and he is currently employed by Superior Plus Energy Services out of Whitehaven. Mr. Gerhard is also employed part-time by Motor Transportation Company in Hazleton as a coach driver for nearly 10 years. In his 11th year as Packer Township Supervisor, Gerhard currently holds the position of Chairman. Appointed by the Bishop of the Allentown Diocese, Mr. Gerhard is a member of the Advisory Board at Marion Catholic High School and holds the position of President of the Men of Marion, the main booster organization for the school. Mr. Gerhard and his wife, Sue Ann, live in Weatherly. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. We're going to start with Mr. Gerhard. You may address the audience.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom J. Gerhart, and I am a candidate for Carbon County Commissioner. And tonight I'm going to speak from my heart. I wrote a speech, and I have it right alongside of me, and I'm not even going to use it, because all throughout the course of my campaign, as we've been out campaigning, I spoke from my heart, and I think it's very important that I do that. I am married for 32 years to my wife, Susie, who is here with me this evening. I have 2 daughters, Jen and Kathy. They are a huge part of my life, and they are the reason that I am running for this office. I believe that we are all people. I came in the room here this evening, I looked around, and we have people on one side of the room and people on the other side of the room. And I think Dwight Notstein, our sheriff, addressed that. You know, I think as an elected official, one of your biggest responsibilities is to elect people, not party. I am very proud to say that I am running on the Republican ticket. I am a lifetime Republican. But my job is to represent people. The man to my left here has proven that he is a proven leader. He is a well-respected commissioner, and he is the same as I am. We represent people, and we have to get across that barrier. We have to break that barrier. It is extremely important that we get through that. I have been on the road for 19 months now. We have been running a very, very aggressive campaign. But one of the things that we are extremely proud of is that we are running a very clean campaign. We have not done any negative campaigning because I don't think that sends out a good message to you, the people, and I don't think that says a lot about us as a candidate.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gerhard. Next, Mr. Notstein.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone, and thank you for coming out tonight, especially our sponsors, the 912 and Blue Ridge Cable. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching at home. As Kim said, I live in Lehighton with my wife, Donna. We have 4 children together. We have 2 granddaughters. You know, like Tom says and Dwight alluded to, once the election's over, the election's over. If we had less politics in the county, state, and federal government and people working together, maybe we'd get more accomplished. And that's what we're hoping to accomplish here. 4 years ago, you know, we plan on working with several different agencies, and we do work with. As I said, I have been active in the County Commissioners Association. Tom and I are going to continue to work with our state legislators to push for tax reform, along with property tax assessment reform, and putting the gaming money back in towards the school property tax deduction where it was supposed to be. We would like to push more in the economic development. Today, this afternoon, we went with the developer of the property in Palmerton. That property in 2 years, it's back in the tax rolls, it's paying taxes, and they're moving along in that project. And again, because of over government regulation with highway occupancy permits, they're holding these people back from moving forward with creating jobs. We have serious problems in this county. Our prison, getting close to being overcrowded. It is overcrowded, really, but what is alarming is that our recidivism rate is at over 90% of these people are coming back into the prison system. We need to work on those things. You know, the drug problem in Carbon County is getting serious. We need to work with the Lehighton Area School Drug Task Force, our district attorneys, and other elected officials in the Criminal Justice Advisory Board to get out there and find out what the problems are, what we can do to prevent these people from coming back.
Thank you. Mr. Getz.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the 912 group, Channel 13, and the viewing audience for coming out here tonight. I'm going to try and make my speech a little short here because if I would get into what we have accomplished in the last 16 years, and I say 16 years because we accomplished things when Wayne was our chairman, we got things done then. We worked well together. And that's what we have to do. We have to forget who the Republicans are, who the Democrats are, or if you're an independent. Being a county commissioner, we represent the people of the county, no matter if you vote or not. We are here to serve the people. And we can't forget that. I consider myself a servant of the people, not a politician. I hate the word politician. That's wrong. Just a few things that Billy and I have done in the last 8 years, and I want to start with some of the money that we've gotten into Carbon County. And what did that do? That kept our taxes down. We probably have secured, without packing yards, over $2 million to do what we had to do at the courthouse, our annex building down at Susquehanna Street. That securement of money kept the taxes from coming out of your pocket. Let me talk about Packard real quick. Right now, we have $5 million to spend on Packard yards. We want to bring industry into Packard and Yards. And yes, I just heard Commissioner Notstein say about Palmerton. You know what? If it happens down in Palmerton first, we are there to help who's ever doing it. We got to get jobs in the Carbon County, be it Packard and Yards or down at Palmerton. A couple of things about Packard and Yards. And I'm sure you heard me say this before. Luckily, we own Packard and Yards. As I said before, a gentleman wanted to bring a garbage transfer station into Packard and Yards. And I will say this, as long as I'm a commissioner, I will fight against it. One second. One other thing.
Have an opportunity
Okay.
to address Packerton Yards. From the looks of our audience questions, it's on everyone's mind.
Thank you.
Mr. Ogorek.
Thank you. I'll kindly defer to my colleague if that's allowable.
No.
I know it is. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, both in person and in a viewing audience. I want to say that it's my distinct pleasure to be here and to be a county commissioner. We had a rally the other night in Nescahoning, and I told my friends, my family, my followers that regardless of any election results that could come out on November 8th, the opportunity to have served the people of this county and to work hard every day to try to sustain the debt, to not increase taxes, is something that I feel very fortunate to have had. Charlie Getz and I took over as the majority commissioners in 2004. Among the accomplishments that we like to say, and we hope that you like as well, are that for 7 straight budgets, we have not increased real estate taxes. In 2008, thank you. In 2008, the commissioners decreased the occupational tax by 30%, giving back to the working men of this county $585,000. We eliminated that tax in 2009, 10, and 11, and for each year that it generated money, it was $1.9 million, which comes to a $5.7 million give back to the working men and women. Collectively, over $6 million. And so I ask you, has anyone ever reduced your taxes?
Thank you.
I want to close with one sentence. I know she's going to interrupt me. I wanted to close with the sentence, if it's not fixed, there's nothing. If it's not broken, there is nothing to fix. Thank you.
All right. We're going to start with some questions from our panel. And I'm going to begin this time with Carrie Dowd. Our first question, Carrie, will be for Bill Ogorek.
If you are reelected, how will you work with state and federal legislators to bring money and funding to Carbon County?
Well, I welcome that opportunity, Carrie, but we need to recognize first and foremost that the times of getting state and federal monies are over. The money had been there. Commissioner Getz alluded to monies that we were able to bring in to Carbon County through the efforts of Keith McCall, Ray Mustel, Ed Rendell. Those gentlemen were very, very good to Carbon County and brought hundreds of thousands of dollars to Carbon County. I welcome the opportunity to work not only with our state representative, but our state senators. We've had meetings already with our congressional people and the state federal senators. We have opened the dialogue. We know where they're at. They know where we're at. We're looking for the opportunity to work with them in the future.
Okay. The way this debate works, each of the remaining 3 candidates will have 30 seconds to comment. And we'll start with Commissioner Getz.
Yeah, I would just like to say what Billy said is gospel, because we all know, and the gentleman to our right, and it's not nobody's fault, be Democrat or Republican, the days of getting money from the state and federal government are probably just about over, and who knows when it's going to change. We don't know. It's going to be tough running county government in the years to come, and we have to tighten up our belt and make sure we don't spend money foolishly.
Thank you. Mr. Notstein.
I agree. The money is not there anymore. We have to come up with new ways, new methods of providing county government at a reduced cost. And that's why I had said earlier, we have to work on the preventative maintenance programs, keeping the people out of our system. We get the early childhood education, get the families stabilized, keep them out of our system from the juvenile, adult, court system into our prison system. That costs us big dollars. We need the prevention.
Thank you. Mr. Gerhart.
Well, I think I would reiterate what Wayne said. There's no doubt that we are in some trying times right now. The economy is horrendous. The unemployment rate is at an all-time high. There have been federal cuts, state cuts. So unfortunately, the county commissioners have no control of that. Hopefully, somewhere down the road, none of us have a crystal ball, but something certainly has to change that, we can start heading in a new direction.
Thank you. Our next question will be from Emily Voles, and that will be directed to Wayne Notstein.
Mr. Notstein, if Packerton Yard were to get all the necessary clearance, how would you move forward with development?
Well, I'm hoping that we get this into the private hands and back into the tax rolls as soon as possible. Turning it over to people that are going to have the professional ability to develop this, whether it be an economic development corporation, but I don't think that the county government belongs in business.
Mr. Gerhard, you can comment.
Well, the Packerton Yards, I believe, certainly has to be addressed, and I'm sure it's going to be talked about many times this evening. I believe that Packerton Yards is dead in the water. I mean, as a truck driver, I think I can speak as a professional. I think one of the most underutilized facilities here in Carbon County is Green Acres over at Kovach. Easily accessible from Route 81 to 309 down 54. The Packerton Yards is just an unsuitable site. Wayne and I are definitely going to take a look at some of the options with the Packerton Yards. We have been speaking to several people about what our options would be, and we will certainly address that if we become two of the next 3 county commissioners.
Thank you. Mr. Ogorek.
Yes, on January 27, 2005, reading from the minutes of the Commissioners' meeting, motion was made by Mr. Notstein to appropriate $150,000 for the purpose of purchasing Packerton Yards. On February 24, 2005, motion was made by Mr. Notstein to appropriate $250,000 for the purchase of Packerton Yards. On October 15, 2009, Mr. Notstein seconded the motion to execute a $1 million grant from the Economic Development Administration for the purpose of developing Packerton Yards. And just 2 weeks ago, Mr. Notstein participated and voted in favor of execution of a resolution to extend application before the PUC for a crossing at Packerton Yards. Mr. Notstein has consecutively and continuously voted for the Packerton Yards development project. More than 100 times he has voted in favor of Packerton Yards. I find it unique and strange and very odd that now he's handing out brochures calling for the sale of Packerton Yard.
Our next question will come from Ron Gower, and that question will be for Mr. Getz.
Taxes in the county increasing, decreasing, or staying the same during the next 4 years?
Ron, that's a real good question. And I'm going to answer that by saying this coming year, 2012, taxes will remain the same. After that, I'm hoping we can hold the line. But I'm not going to sit up here and say, yes, in the next 3 years following 2012, there will not be a tax increase. Because I'm sure you heard about the state and federal government not allocating any money to counties. Also, we've already been cut from the state and children and youth by about $400,000. So we're trying to figure where we're going to cut that we don't harm any people in that program. So for me to say there won't be a tax increase for 4 years, I would be sitting up here guessing.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to Mr. Ogorek.
Well, I think the commissioner's right. It's hard to predict. I can tell you that we're working on the 2012 budget right now. I expect that it'll be no tax increase in 2012, but after that, I really don't know. We have continuously seen cuts in funding from the state, most recently in Children and Youth Services and Department of Aging. So it's going to come to a difficult time where we need people who understand how to run government, have to be in place to make those decisions for the future.
Thank you. Mr. Notstein.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for us. Next year, we'll be okay, and hopefully we won't have to dip into what's left of our funds from the sale of Weatherwood. That's going to keep us afloat for a little bit of time, but who knows what's going to happen with the state and federal government. Again, that's why we have to have more community collaboratives work together to try to fix this system. How can we do county government, state government, federal government better?
Thank you. Mr. Gerhard.
Well, being that I'm not a county commissioner yet, I really don't have too much to say about the taxes. But I believe with the sale of Weatherwood, I think we balanced the budget here in the county. And I believe once that money runs out, the commissioners are going to have no choice but to raise taxes. If I'm on board, I will certainly do everything in my power not to raise the taxes here in Carbon County. We are already taxed enough.
Thank you. Our next question will be for Mr. Gerhard, and that question will come from, I'm thinking it's Ron.
What would you prioritize to improve the quality of life in Carbon County?
One of the biggest things that Wayne and I have been running on is that we want to support our local businesses. I have become a Carbon County member of the Chamber of Commerce. We have been working hand in hand with these people. We have supported them. We have attended all of their functions. I have been employed in the roofing business for 32 years, so I have small business experience. I went out, I bid the jobs, I did the jobs, I collected the money. I think it's very important that we support our local business. Before we can promote economic development here in Carbon County, it's extremely important for all of us that we support our existing businesses. Anytime the doors on any business closes, it has a huge impact on the county. So I would start with supporting our local businesses, working with these people, and encouraging all of you here tonight to get out and support our local businesses. Don't leave the county. Stay here in Carbon County. That's the way we stimulate the economy here, by supporting these people that are here in Carbon County.
Mr. Notstein, your comment?
Yes, I think one of our top priorities should be the over-regulation of county government. Government, not only county, state, and federal government in particular, DEP regulations, EPA regulations, that are keeping our jobs from our businesses from coming into Carbon County, along with the infrastructure. Those are the things we have to concentrate on to get business to come into Carbon County. When you get business into Carbon County, they pay property taxes, and everybody else's taxes stay down.
Thank you. Mr. Getz?
Yes, I have to agree with what our two candidates to my right said. We definitely have to support the local businesses, but sometimes by county code, if we have contracts, we must go out for bid. And all three commissioners up here are going to agree with what I'm going to tell you. There's times that we award contracts that people do not live in this county. And you know what? All three of us have probably talked about this a dozen times. And you got to follow the county code. But as far as local businesses, yes, we have to support local businesses. Our Chamber of Commerce, our hotel tax was enacted by Commissioner Gerhart and myself, Commissioner Ogorek and myself, and that brought approximately, I would say, $100,000 into Carbon County to advertise for our local businesses, the people who are in recreation, our hotels and different things. And that was because we stuck by our guns. The Vacation Bureau wanted to give the county 10% of what was taken in. Billy and I said, look, forget it. We're not going to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ogorek.
Yes, thank you. If the numbers 11.2 ring a bell to you, I wouldn't be surprised. It's the unemployment rate in Carbon County. Third in the state, behind only Philadelphia County and Cameron County, 12 and 11.5 respectively. If you want to increase the quality of life for Carbon Countyans, give them an opportunity to live here, raise their families here, and earn a decent living here like we're doing at Packerton. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take an opportunity now to answer some questions from the audience. I'm going to start with one that is not about Packerton Yards. There's so many, it's hard to decide. Okay, this is going out to Commissioner Getz. Your billboard boasts that taxes haven't gone up in 7 years. Well, they haven't gone down either. With a $5 million profit on the sale of Weatherwood and the $5 million casino proceeds originally slated for relief of property tax redirected to the county's economic fund, can you tell us where that money is now and what it's being used for? And do you feel you can spend our money better?
Well, that's a good question. Yes, we sold Weatherwood, and everybody out here knows why we sold that, because we couldn't continue to keep operating Weatherwood. It was costing us, at the end, it would have costed us probably about $13,000 a day. If you do the math, you're looking at over $3 million a year. So we sold that. Did we want to do it? All three commissioners up here didn't want to do it. How could we spend our money better? Well, I'll tell you how we could spend our money better. But we can't do this because of state regulations. It just gripes me that we have to support a jail in this county to the tune of $4 million. What does the state do for Carbon County for that? We don't get anything from the state. You people are paying to support people up there, and you know what? A lot of them that get out are going to be back in, like Commissioner Notstein said a while ago in this debate. That's one thing that bugs me. If we can get the state on board and say, look, we can't afford this anymore. You have to come up with some money to help support the jail. And I will tell you this, I, for one, as long as I'm here, will never vote to put an addition onto that jail. I won't do it. There's better ways that we can get those people up there, get them on bracelets or whatever, not spending taxpayers' money. It's a situation that we just can't control, but we're responsible. And you know what? Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ogorek.
Yeah, I think it's important to note where the money from the Weatherwood home went. For 2009 and 2010, we were losing $3 million a year. When we sold the county nursing home for $11 million, we returned $4.9 million to the county general fund that had been loaned to keep Weatherwood afloat. When we adopted our 2011 budget, we were $2.5 million short. So we took $2.5 million from the Weatherwood fund. Collectively, that's $7.4 million. A mill brings in $1.5 million in Carbon County. Had we not sold the county home, to come up with $7.5 million would have necessitated a 5 mil increase. 5 mils out of 6.893 to current mills is a 72% tax increase. We weren't going to let that happen. We got out of the business where we were losing $8,000 to $10,000 a day. Sold the home and made us whole.
Okay. Mr. Gerhard.
Well, I believe we wouldn't even be talking about tax increases or millage increases if the majority Board of Commissioners wouldn't have mismanaged Weatherwood. They preach fiscal responsibility. Their claim to fame is they didn't raise taxes here in the county. They weren't watching over Weatherwood. I mean, it lost $8,200 a day. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. We had to sell the county home. And then to add insult to injury, Mr. Ogorek made a statement to all of the people at Weatherwood that nothing was going to change. It was going to be like walking your daughter down the aisle on her wedding day. Well, I have friends of mine that took $4 and $5 an hour cuts in pay. I call that a significant change. And yet the county commissioners vote to give themselves a raise. And I'm certainly glad that my daughters didn't have to walk down that aisle. And I want to tell all of you that I will be fiscally responsible as a Carbon County Commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Notstein.
Yeah, it's really sad that we lost $4.9 million out of tax money to pay back what we lost in Weatherwood. We were sleeping on that when that should have never happened. It took too long. When we started losing money, I blame it on management there. The right decision was not made. We were not following there. Our fiscal consultant was not on the ball there. We lost $4.9 million. That should have never happened.
Thank you. We're going to stay with our audience questions, and this one will be for Mr. Gerhard. We are seeing protests erupt across America and the world as our economic conditions deteriorate. What measures will you put in place to ensure the freedoms and safety of Carbon County citizens are upheld in the unlikely event of a collapse of the world reserve currency, the dollar?
Wow. You guys aren't too easy on me. You know, when I decided to run for county commissioner, I said I was going to represent people and not party, and that's what I'm going to do. And I believe that our current majority Board of Commissioners have totally ignored economic development here in Carbon County. We have concentrated on the Packerton Yards, a project that has gone nowhere. We have ignored the rest of the county. We have no economic development here. Today, Wayne and I toured the county. We were in Lehighton, on the bypass coming out of Lehighton. If you look at the backs of the building in Lehighton, they're horrendous. We were over in Lansford on Ridge Street, the business district in Lansford. Half of the buildings are closed down. People have closed their doors and left. I believe we have to step up to the plate. We have to work on economic development. We have to bring jobs to Carbon County. We have to get our unemployment rate down. It's very important that we do that. I think there are a lot of people that have left the county. There are no jobs here.
Thank you.
My two daughters are prime examples of that. They do not live in Carbon County.
Mr. Notstein.
Could you repeat that question, please?
Oh. Okay. We are seeing protests erupt across America and the world as our economic conditions deteriorate. What measures will you put in place to ensure the freedoms and safety of Carbon County citizens are upheld in the likely event of a collapse of the world reserve currency, the dollar? 30 seconds.
I'm not too sure what we could really do. This starts at the state and federal level. There should be more regulation onto the to the CEOs and these people operating these companies. How can they lose so many millions of dollars, create so many problems, and still get rewards with the stimulus and their bonuses and everything else?
Thank you. Mr. Getz.
I just want to say to Mr. Gerhart, if you checked the salaries of the county road officers, you will find that there's a zero increase for the next 2 years. Okay?
Okay.
And no, I'm not finished yet. And also, we're talking Packerton Yards, Tommy. I just want to tell you, you get a chance to say, Packerton Yards should not be sold. We all know there's a traffic problem in Jim Thorpe. That's an ideal place to park cars to bring them to Jim Thorpe by rail, and we're done with all the congestion on fall foliage weekends.
Thank you. Mr. Ogorek.
Well, since Mr. Gerhardt's answer was nowhere close to the question, I defer on the rebuttal.
Okay. Thank you for not asking me to read it again. We're going to go back to our panel of reporters, and this time we're going to go to Carrie Dowd. And the question will be for Mr. Notstein.
Okay, Commissioner Notstein, you have served the people of Carbon County for 12 years. You've also served in the Lehighton Fire Company for close to 40 years. What is your commitment to bringing a training facility to Carbon County, and how will you fund that project?
Well, we have been meeting for almost 4 years now. We have representation from all the different emergency services. Granted, those grants are gone now. We don't know how we're going to fund the project, but we want to be ready. Should grant money become available, we want to be shovel ready when these things do become available. Our emergency services are number one. They need to be taken care of.
Thank you. Mr. Gerhard, your comment?
Well, I commend all of the firefighters and emergency personnel people out there that protect us each and every day. Wayne is a volunteer firefighter. I have a great deal of respect for these gentlemen. I know that there are going to be some issues that Wayne will take charge on, and there are some other issues that I will address. But I have been attending all of the different fire departments with Wayne, meeting all of these people, and I believe that they are a very important part of Carbon County, and I look forward to working with Wayne on these projects.
Okay. Mr. Ogorek?
Well, the commissioners participated in a meeting with the fire service where they asked the county to be a partner, and naturally we said yes. Charles and I share the same respect for each and every volunteer firefighter, serviceman, first responder, and all the people who are out there serving our community. We said that we would participate by trying to make land available at the county prison site where we have some land, and that if the money became available, we would be willing to participate and do the county share to make that happen for the betterment of all the responders.
Thank you. Mr. Getz.
Yes, I agree with what was said here about our fire companies and our EMAs. We all would like to see a building put up, but like Wayne said, where are we going to get the money? But one place I disagree, there's talk about putting the building up by our prison. I disagree in that. I'm going to tell you why. There's going to have to be a lot of excavation done, which is going to be a big cost. The place for that would be down at Packard and Yards. Water, sewer, and gas. And to tell you another thing, you don't have to spend $250,000 to clear the property. You know, we're talking money here. We have to see where we can save wherever we can if we're going to go ahead and do this. But it's tough without any money from the state or federal government.
Thank you. Okay. Now I'm going to ask a question about Packerton Yards, and I'm combining a couple of questions. And this one is going to Mr. Ogorek. Agenda 21 is being openly implemented as sustainable development by state, county, and local governments across the country. Can you explain Agenda 21 and how it's being implemented in Carbon County, and if you are for it or against it? Is Packerton Yards part of Agenda 21, aka economic development? And if you had to do it again, would you purchase Packerton Yards?
If I had to do it again, I absolutely would purchase Packerton Yards. When we won election in 2003 and took office in 2004, one of the first things we did was assemble people from a regional and statewide basis to discuss the Packerton Yards property. It's a brownfield site. It's a site that is being remediated. We are not robbing pristine land in the Mahoning Valley or in one of the townships. We are putting back to good use land that was used in the railroad industry. It takes a lot of work to develop Packerton Yards. We needed environmental studies to be done. We have done that. There is a remediation plan in place. We're on the footstep of developing the yards. We need to get a highway occupancy permit to put a road into there to provide access. If and when we do that, we will be able to cross the new track that we received $500,000 for, a new crossing, and get the subdivision approval. We'll be ready to start building upon Packerton Yards.
Thank you. Mr. Getz.
Yes, I agree with what Billy just said. If we had it to do over again, definitely. You know, they're not making more land. And this is land that was a brownfield. We can get that developed down there without condemning, you know, open space or farmland. We're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead with Packerton Yards. And I just like to address one thing about Packerton Yards. Mr. Gerhardt said, why don't we go up to Hotto? Well, I just want to remind Mr. Gerhardt, about 12 years ago, we were going to do that. It was going to cost $4 million 12 years ago to run natural gas up to Hotto. What would that be now? 6 million? 8 million? That's not going to happen. We have all that at Packerton Yards. And you know what? I'm thankful the county owns it.
Mr. Notstein.
I voted against the purchase of Packerton Yards, and I voted for a lot of those other issues, just like Bill said. But we were stuck with it. We got to deal with it now. I'm getting mixed feelings here about the repurchase. No, I would not go along with it. I do appreciate Mr. Getz saying that he would like to put the training center there. I'm sure the firemen and the police and that would like that. But I'm getting mixed feelings. How that doesn't bring a lot of jobs, nor does parking cars bring in a lot of jobs into Packerton.
Mr. Gerhard.
8 years ago, the team of Getz and Ogorek ran on developing the Packerton Yards. Tonight, as I speak to you here, we have not even obtained a highway occupancy permit, something that should have taken 2 or 3 months. And these guys are sitting here tonight telling you they want you to elect them and put them back into office. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. We'll now go back to our reporter panel for a question. And this is going to be a question for Mr. Notstein. Emily Voles.
Mr. Notstein, with job growth stalled, what specific measures would you take to... You can't hear. I'm sorry. With job growth stalled, what specific measures would you take to attract employers to Carbon County?
Well, I think we have to address the real issues why jobs aren't coming here. It's hard. We're competing against counties, other counties, states, federal, throughout the country. As you know, we send someone down south to try to bring business in. I think our biggest problem here is infrastructure. The bigger companies, the bigger paying jobs, they want those super highways where they can get on and off. The center of Carbon County is not ideal to that.
Thank you. Mr. Gerhard?
I believe our State Representative Doyle Heffley addressed this. Carbon County is not job friendly. We have too many rules and too many regulations here in the county. You know, businesses come in looking to set up shop. You know, if they're going to go through a year or 2 years of rules and regulations and different kind of permits, they're not coming in. It's as simple as that.
Mr. Ogorek?
Well, neither of the candidates said what they would do to try to spur what you had asked, jobs, but I maintain that Commissioner Getz and I have been focused on creating those jobs, and we've visited people in the Wyoming Valley, Lehigh Valley, and Delaware Valley to talk about the creation of those jobs and how to attract businesses to your area. Packerton Yards has sewer, water, gas, electric, and rail. I say we have to have that property developed so that we can use those 7 parcels for economic development.
And Mr. Getz.
Yes, I agree with what Billy just said. You know, if we don't try and keep trying to get industry into Carbon County, shame on us. I look at the positive side of things, not the negative side. It's going to take time, and who knows when it's going to happen. We don't know, because times aren't only tough in Carbon County. Times are tough across the United States. But if we don't keep trying, then we're not doing our job. And eventually, we will get industry into Packard Yards.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to allow each of the candidates to ask another candidate a question. We will not be allowing rebuttal, and each candidate will again have 90 seconds on their response. We're going to start our first question coming from Mr. Getz. Who is your question for?
My question is for Tommy Gerhardt. Tommy, how do you feel about grant money coming into Carbon County?
Well, I believe that our current majority Board of Commissioners keep claiming that there is all kind of grant money down at the Packerton Yards. I unfortunately don't have that exact number. I'm sure that Wayne does. But I want to make it very clear to everyone here tonight that grant money is not free money. It is not dropped out of the sky. It does not land on our lap. It is taxpayers' money. So I think we got to give up the free grant money. It is not free grant money. It is taxpayers' money.
Okay.
I have no further comments, Mr. Getz.
There's no rebuttals. Our next question will be from Mr. Gerhard. Who is your question to?
My question is to Commissioner Bill O'Gorick. I want to know if you are supporting Barack Obama for president.
I am.
You are? Okay.
Okay. Our next question will be from Mr. Notstein.
Yes, this is for Mr. O'Gorick. If you say you are trying to do everything you can to put our residents back to work, twice I had made the motion to hire a county-owned and business that does hazardous materials cleanup owned by county residents, worked for and county residents at no cost to the county. Why did I not get a second to my motion to contract with this company with county owners and county residents?
Well, I'm glad you asked the question. The company is called Rapid Response, and number one is our EMA director, Mark Nalezhnek, had indicated to us that the firm we have in place is not only reliable, but has gone out of their way to do a lot of things for the benefit of organizations in Carbon County. But back to Rapid Response. I can tell you that Rapid Response is owned by Michael Acker, originally from Horsham. I could also tell you that if you look at Mr. Notstein's campaign expense report for 2003, there's a $1,250 contribution from Michael Acker. If you look at Mr. Notstein's campaign contribution report for 2007, there's a $1,000 donation from Mr. Acker to Mr. Notstein's campaign. With what's happening in Luzerne County and scandals and problems across this country, across this state, the last thing that we as commissioners wanted to do was have a commissioner sit in forum with us and recommend a company that has been contributing repeatedly, and not $20 or $30, thousands of dollars to his campaign.
Thank you. Mr. O'Gorick, your question?
My question is for Mr. Gerhard. What is the real estate millage of Packard Township? How much tax revenue does it generate? And what is the budget of the township?
The budget of Packard Township is $85,000. I am not sure of the millage. I would have to look at that. What was the other question?
How much revenue does it generate?
How much revenue does it generate? I don't have an answer to that. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's all the time that we have for questions. At this time, we're going to give each of our candidates an opportunity for closing remarks. We're going to start with Commissioner Getz.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming here tonight, and I would hope that all these candidates, enlighten you on county government. I'd like to say about grant money. The county receives grant money. I heard Mr. Gerhard say That's tax money. Well, let me tell you something about grant money. Carbon County probably gets, this is going to be a ballpark figure, maybe $1 million for children and youth in grant money. Probably the same amount of money in our agent department. So Mr. Gerhardt apparently wants to pick and choose what grant money we get from the state and federal government. If we don't take that grant money, guess what happens to your taxes? And let me tell you one other thing about grant money.
We're out of time.
Thank you.
Mr. Gerhardt, your closing comments.
Well, I want to thank Sandy Delacour and the 912 group for giving me the opportunity to speak here this evening. It has been an honor for me to run for Carbon County Commissioner with the gentleman to my left. But one of the things that we have campaigned, if elected 2 of the next 3 county commissioners, we will be open-doored, open-minded commissioners with no strings attached, commissioners who will make good decisions that are in the best interest of Carbon County and all of its residents, and we will not let party affiliation get in the way of that. I am going to do the job that I am elected to do, and I am going to represent all of the people of Carbon County.
Thank you. Mr. Ogorek.
Thank you. I'd like to thank 912 and Memorial Park and Blue Ridge for putting on this event. I'd like to close by saying this. We have a candidate for commissioner who has been chairman of the Packard Township Board of Supervisors for 11 years and doesn't know the millage and doesn't know how much tax revenue it brings in. I can tell you, it brings in $15,000. The assessed valuation of Packard Township is $26,402,000. We're talking about running a $51 million budget versus what the candidate says, an $85,000 budget.
Thank you.
And if $15,000 is tax money, where is the other 70 coming from? I hope it's not grants.
Thank you. Mr. Notstein.
Again, thank you, 912ers, Memorial Park, Jim Thorpe Earl there, and Blue Ridge Cable. Tom and I look forward to working with the various organizations and committees throughout Carbon County, including local government. We look forward to working more closely with our state and federal elected officials to reduce those mandates, improve our infrastructure, reduce the over-regulation that keep America from moving forward, creating jobs. The team of Gerhardt and Wayne Notstein, thank you for your time and ask for your support November 8th, and look forward to joining together for a better tomorrow.
I want to extend a big thank you to all the candidates for Carbon County Commissioner and for our panel of reporters this evening and for our audience members here at Memorial Hall and on the Blue Ridge Communications TV 13 channel. Thank you all very much. Don't forget, Election Day is November 8th. Get out and vote. Good night.
I am an engineer,
web designer,
a systems analyst,
a network security specialist.
I am technical support,
a PC technician,
customer service.
We are working together
to bring you better,
faster, and more reliable data connections.
Engineering the next generation of smart technology.
In your community.
We're connecting homes,
businesses,
and beyond.
We are
Pentella Data.
My husband and I are very happy with Blue Ridge. We have no intentions of changing.
I hear about what's happening in my own backyard.
From sports to cooking to the regular channels.
I watch PCN, I watch the Health Watch, I watch the local news, whether it be morning or evening.
You're a local company, and we like to deal with local people.
When you got the best, you don't worry about the rest.
I love my Blue Ridge.
I'm sticking with my Blue Ridge because of the local sports. I'm sticking with Blue Ridge.
We're sticking with Blue Ridge.
You're watching Emmy Award-winning Blue Ridge Communications TV 13.